My empire is made of the stuff of crystals, its molecules arranged in a perfect pattern. Amid the surge of the elements, a splendid, hard diamond takes shape, an immense, faceted, transparent mountain.
Hi, I'm Jeff Lowe, and I'm here to introduce you to the world of waterfall ice climbing. It's kind of a strange sport, seems brutal, cold, but there's a lot of technique involved in it that I think makes it a very enjoyable sport. And my student for the next couple of weeks actually here, that we'll condense into 3 hours, will be Lowe, who's one of America's top rock climbers. She comes to ice climbing from a solid background of both traditional and sport rock climbing, and she's now interested in learning about ice.
We'll follow Bird as she takes her first walking steps in crampons on low-angle ice, to classic steep water ice challenges, all the way to the most radical mixed rock and ice climbs. The video is structured in 6 parts. Part 1 deals with hardware and equipment. Part 2 is an introduction to waterfall ice, class 1 to 4. Part 3 is advanced waterfall ice technique, class 5 and 6. Part 4 deals with boots and clothing. In Part 5 we discuss mixed rock and ice, class 7 techniques. And in Part 6 we go beyond technique.
Well, welcome to my kitchen, Bird. I've cooked up a nice collection of ice climbing gear for you, and let's go through it. The crampons that we've chosen for this lesson for you are one of 2 types, and these are representative in general of the 2 types of crampons that are appropriate for waterfall ice climbing. One is a traditionally derived crampon with 2 front points, and a second set of front points pointing forward very steeply. These Charlet-Moser crampons also have an extra feature which is crucial, and we'll talk about that later, which is the parallel side points, which allows for a technique called hedging, which we'll talk about out in the field. The other basic choice you have with crampons for waterfall ice climbing is monopoint, which is what I prefer. This is a Charlet-Moser Nova, which has the 2 features, the parallel side points plus the monopoint. The geometry of the front point, the monopoint with the 2 forward pointing side points, is crucial. Some crampons work better than others, and because of that geometry. The Charlet-Moser Nova is perfect in its geometry, and we'll talk about that also in the field. If you put the crampon on the boot and you can shake it a little bit and it sticks on the boot, it's permanent, it's adjusted properly in terms of fit. Like you see, even before we clip the heel clamp there, that crampon is fit properly to the boot. Precision crampon technique is impossible without that kind of fit to a boot. The standard configuration of pick for waterfall climbing these days is the reverse curve, and the most important part of this configuration is that as you climb above it and you want to remove it, as you pull it out like this, it rides upward on this smooth section and comes out on the smooth upper curve. And so you pull it up in a natural motion, reach up and replace it. Whereas the more traditional curve matched to the arc of the swing has the characteristic that as you pull out on the shaft, it locks into the ice. And so you have to push back down on the shaft to get it to ride out on the upper surface to remove it. Obviously with these tools, they all have wrist loops, and these are designed to take a lot of the strain off of the need to really hang on to that tool hard. With the wrist loop, you can pretty much relax. If it's properly adjusted for length, you can pretty much relax into it. Most wrist loops will have a feature that can lock it down on your hand. I don't like to use that feature very much. I like to keep it open like that, and if I need a greater security in my grip, I'll take a twist like that and see how it closes it up. Okay, on these tools in particular, you also have the addition of a nice sculpted grip that gives you, that's small in diameter and easy to hold. A large diameter shaft requires a lot more energy to hold than the smaller diameter, and you can test that by trying to do pull-ups on a 2-inch bar compared to a 1-inch bar. You'll find you can hang on a lot better to the 1-inch bar than the 2-inch bar. There's another issue about wrist loops on very steep ice where you're actually leaning, pulling out on the shaft. As you see here, with this anchor up here, if I'm on overhanging ice or vertical ice even, I'm having to actually hang on to keep it from, my hand from swiveling out like this. It's very tiring. But if this is anchored right here, it tends to, I just have to keep my fingers just looped around like that, and it's a major issue on overhangs and in mixed climbing. Ropes for ice climbing have a couple of special considerations. I like to climb with 2 9mm ropes of different colors. So as I'm climbing, I can keep them separate and I know which one I'm working with. Of course, it has the same benefits as in rock climbing when you can reduce friction and so on by clipping ropes alternately and making them run straighter. But the additional benefit in ice climbing is particularly that you can't cut both at once, or it's very unlikely that you would. The ropes I like to use are Edelweiss Stratos ropes. The Stratos rope is one of the most abrasion resistant ropes on the market. It also has a great resistance to cut through or cutting over an edge because there's an extra strong monofilament in the inside of the rope, in the core of the rope. Another important consideration, obviously, for ropes for ice climbing is that you're often operating in a really wet and freezing wet environment. So you want the rope not to absorb water. And most ropes are available in a dry treatment, what they call a dry treatment. In particular on this Edelweiss rope, their dry treatment treats every fiber before the rope is made. Then the rope's made into a rope and it's treated again, and then the entire rope has an added treatment for abrasion called perdure. But anyway, that makes a rope that really doesn't absorb water. It stays, it's highly anti-abrasion, and it runs through your carabiners and your protection much more smoothly. So those are just issues that are particular to ice climbing, but also sometimes particular to use of ropes in general. The ice screws that I've been using are Charlie Moser screws. They have a really positive 4-tooth nose there that really starts in real easily. These are stainless steel screws, and they have a low enough thread pitch low angle enough thread pitch that they don't require so much force to go into the ice that you have to use your tool very often to add leverage. So you can place these by hand, and that's really important. These stainless steel screws have really changed the nature of ice protection on the lead. Another type is a drive-in protection device. This has a this is also the Charlie Moser drive-in piton, and it has a tip which is beveled to the inside. And when you pound that into the ice, the forces of the driving are actually contained within the tube, and they aren't directed out to the ice. So you don't have very much fracturing of the ice with a piton like this, as opposed to a solid piton you try and drive into the ice.
In addition to the specialized ice climbing equipment discussed here, we'll also deal with the use of rock pitons, wired nuts, and camming devices in mixed climbing situations later on in the video. The ice in Boulder Canyon, Colorado is a good place to learn beginning waterfall ice climbing techniques.
Looks like we can stop right here somewhere and put our stuff on.
Okay, so yeah, this place has been used for about 30 years by boulder climbers to practice ice climbing, and it's a perfect location because it has a lot of low angle stuff, which is really actually kind of hard to find for waterfall ice. Have a lot of hardware. We won't start off with much of this hardware. We'll start off with just the most basic stuff, which is walking on this lower angle stuff around here. About all, we put the harnesses on and so on because I'll keep you on a leash. This harness that I'm using is actually, I think, about the perfect alpine harness because it's got virtually no padding, just an extra wide webbing, but you really don't need much padding because you're already padded with all these clothes, you know. So it's light, it's completely adjustable on the legs and waist. Okay, Bert, I like to put my crampons on facing uphill. I just drop them into a flat spot, and then I can step into it, and they need to be adjusted tightly enough so that you actually have to use quite a bit of force to pop that lever into place. This sling has to be snug also so that you don't have anything to hook your other crampon on when you pass your feet through. So then they're very, you know, if they're adjusted right, they're really just a part of your boot, just an extension of your boot. It's really not safe to just, for a beginner, to go out and walk around on low angle stuff like this without some kind of belay.
Okay.
Now we'll start with a real organized progression of crampon technique.
Okay.
Okay, so obviously, as you're going up a gradually steepening slope, when it's low enough angle to start with, you can just walk up with your feet kind of pointing directly up the hill and just flexing at the ankles, right?
Okay.
Okay? You can do that. That's a little awkward for me because I'm duck-footed, and I soon, quite quickly, like to start splaying my feet a little bit. Like this. Okay? When it gets a little steeper, where that's not really comfortable to go straight up the hill, I'll start going sideways a little bit. Diagonally, I mean. When you need to make a turn diagonally, if you're turning to the right, you'll make the turn off your left foot, and then I just simply make a complete
Turning your leg out.
turn out, yeah. Some people find that a little awkward and they want to do an intermediate one. I think that's awkward. I make a complete turn out and just head off in the other direction. Okay? Come up and try that turn.
Hmm. So what you had your
If you're turning to the right, you go off your left, you turn off your left foot. No, this is where you're stepping way too high. Step down about a foot. Now, yeah, get all your points in, flex your ankle, don't edge.
don't edge. Here we go.
Now start off in the new direction. Yeah, okay. Now we'll do that some more here. If I'm going to turn to my left, I'll turn off my right foot. Turn out completely. Come ahead up and turn a little lower than I did because it'll be better right up through here. So as it gets steeper, you can point your toes downhill more. When you're walking around on ice, you need no hand tools, obviously, but you need to use your crampons correctly. So we'll just do some more of this movement until you're feeling comfortable.
Okay.
And just think about each step before you do it.
I think the fear factor is diminishing a smidgen.
Right, and that's important because the more confident you are, actually within reason, the more confident you are on ice, the safer you are.
Right.
Because you make more positive movements. Stop just a minute and really close your eyes.
Okay.
And bend your knees and lean forward in your whole upper body until it feels like you're falling forward, and get that feeling right now, and then take a step. I'm going to hold you on the rope so you can't go anywhere.
Okay.
But lean forward, farther. Okay, now take a step. That's how you should be moving. It's always good when you're learning a technique to somewhere stop, close your eyes, and concentrate on the feeling, because your eyes are feeding you so much information in addition to what you're feeling, that it mutes your understanding of the feeling. So it's a good technique to use. Just like in regular climbing, but even more so, it's important not to step on the rope, especially with crampons. You know, this is an issue. That's why I like to climb often with double nines. But we'll just use this single 9 for a top rope here. I'm just going to go up maybe 50 feet, set up a top rope anchor so we can do a couple of things on this approximately 45 to 50 degree slope without our hand tools. But I'll take a belay. Okay, so this is just a little steeper than what we were on over there. And we're going to climb without tools again and just using hands for balance. But here you can see there's lots of little ledges to stand on and lessen the angle, okay? And always when you're climbing, you want to follow the line of least resistance. Okay, and when it gets steeper now, we can do 1 foot front point and 1 foot sideways. Okay, that's a very, very practical technique for this angle. So we'll start off like that, and then you want to create a tripod with the two forward, the two secondary front points and the mono point. So to do that, you kick it in and drop your heel low enough that these points contact. Can you see what I'm doing? Sure. Okay. So here's some old steps that people kind of created here, so it's kind of like walking up a staircase. Switch feet if you need to change directions, or if you need to rest 1 foot And then the other, as long as your weight's over your points, they're going to continue to bite into the ice rather than shear the ice out. That's always key. Okay, what you're trying to do, Bird, is just create a natural rhythm, a natural flow, you know. But to begin with, take your time and feel each movement. Don't be sloppy, okay?
Okay, you're getting out of sight now.
So I'll just set up a top rope here and we'll practice that.
Okay.
Bird, the idea is you're either placing your feet flat against the slope with all the underneath points in the ice, or you're front pointing, one or the other, not halfway between, okay?
In this case, would you be crossing through?
Sure. Sure, crossing through is fine.
Okay, we're almost at the top here.
Okay, once you're there, whenever you want, turn around and walk down. You can try facing out like I did, or you can face in and just front point down.
I think I'll face in for a little bit.
Okay, that's fine. That's it. Just keep your heels low. You're really good on your front points, Bird. Your heels are nice and low. You know, the lower you keep your heels, the more relaxed your calves are, and the strain's taken just by the Achilles tendon.
And also, it looks like these points are biting in a little bit more evenly.
That's right. If you try to point your toe, you stress your calf, and you also run the risk of shearing your points out of the ice. But you see how what a good platform you get when with the triangular action of those three forward points on your crampons.
Let me try that downwards again.
Okay, yeah.
2 more steps.
Yeah, go ahead and walk. Good, excellent. Excellent.
Okay, that was a little
Really
bit.
good. No, that was excellent all the way. Now, this time we'll just go up with one tool and we'll go all the way up.
Okay.
It's a little steeper up higher, and I just want to show the different things you can do with one tool as you're climbing. You just walk up using the spike of the tool in the ice. This is the spike right there, okay? And you can just use it for balance on low angle ice. That way you don't have to bend over and crawl up the slope, and you can keep your weight over your front points. But another technique, which is a little more secure when it's ice at about this angle, is just to keep your hand on top of the head behind on either the adze or the pounding anvil, and just alternately balance with one hand and use the pick with the other hand.
This time up, I continued to the top of the pitch by way of a thinly iced ramp with an angle of about 50 degrees. I wanted Bird to follow using one tool in her right hand for balance only, augmented by her left hand on the rock. The whole purpose of the exercise being to foster good crampon technique.
Okay, Bird, I'm up.
Now.
Go up into the corner.
Okay. Into the very corner
Yeah.
left.
And use your tool in your right hand and your left on the rock wall to kind of balance and stuff, you know?
So, what? Will I be putting? I couldn't see you from below.
Yeah, I was swinging my tool in a little bit, basically hooking it on those little holds. You see where other people have already made little holds? So you don't have to swing it hard, just kind of hook it. And then just remember to keep your points low and you can kind of use your shoulder against the rock wall.
Bird's long rock climbing experience led her to quite naturally stand upright over her feet, thus ensuring that her crampon points would bite securely in.
Bird, the bottom part of this pitch would be basically grade 1 ice, and then this part you're doing right there would be about grade 2 ice.
I'm mostly just hooking this pick. I
Yeah,
think.
that's perfect. That's
Okay.
exactly what you want to do. But you'll notice that your pick's slipping out a little bit sometimes, and we'll talk about that lower down, and we're
Okay.
going to sharpen them and modify them slightly at the pick so that even on the thinnest ice, they hook instead
Right.
of skate out on you when they're not embedded very deeply. You notice how a couple of times it kind of slips out there?
Yeah.
That's because the very first tooth needs to be changed slightly. And most tools, as they come from the factory, require a little bit of modification. Most brands of ice tool. Obviously, this climb has been recently climbed quite a lot, so you're hooking old placements.
Right.
But the thing that I'm trying to emphasize with this practicing first no tools, just crampons, then only one tool, is that to get you really to rely on your feet and to see how little you need to use your tools on this angle of ice.
Okay, watch me here.
Okay, where it's a little steeper, go ahead and swing the pick in a little bit, okay? So as you pull up and pull out a little bit on it, it's not going to slip on you. There you go. Swing that in a little harder. That's pretty good.
Okay. There's a little bulge here for the feet.
Yeah, I see that. So it's just like with rock climbing. You'll want to work your feet high and position your body so you can get past the bulge.
Maybe a little bit more. left.
That feels a little better, huh?
Yep.
We'll talk about swinging the picks and planning the picks later. I just wanted to see how you did on your own devices, you know? You're doing great.
Huh.
But there's something you're doing with your swing which is limiting the utility of it. And we'll talk about that. But you're doing great. Excellent.
Sounded better.
Yep.
A little more brittle here.
Well, often as you come over a bulge, you'll find that it's laminated ice, and it'll want to delaminate a little bit and fracture in dinner plates. So that's not uncommon.
Okay.
And
So here would you just
No, go ahead and get it
swing it?
in so you get over the bulge. You don't want to reach too far above the bulge so you can walk your feet up. Yep,
Okay.
there you go.
Yeah.
Now just kind of stand up and mantle on the head before you remove it. Yeah, just use it for balance like that. Good. Excellent. Really,
Okay.
really well done. Well, that's your basic grade 2 ice climb.
Great.
Let's go do a grade 3 and we'll talk about some other things.
Okay.
A common tendency is to want to try and edge your crampons in the ice like you were skiing or something.
Yeah.
And that's a dangerous thing to do because the ice wants to fracture out under your crampons like that, and you can break it out that way. So that's why flat foot technique was developed, to get all your points into the ice, and you don't fracture the ice out when you put your weight on it. The trouble with flat foot technique is that it's quite strenuous bend in your ankle, and so I do what I call hedging, which is somewhere in between straight full edging and flat foot. I get all the points, all the upper row of points into the ice, and then I just drop my ankle to where the lower points just contact the ice, and then I have about a 10-degree less bend in my ankle, which saves a lot of energy over the course of a pitch. So this is edging, that's hedging, and this is flat foot. Did you notice how your pick was occasionally slipping out when it was just placed on a little ledge? That's because it's riding right on that flat right there. What we need to do is angle that about up like that, so we've got a real hook right at the tip. And then you can just scrape the pick down the ice and it'll bite and tend to go in. I just carry this little file with me, 4-inch mill bastard file, and I can make these improvements right here on the spot. It's not much. I mean, of course, it's easier to do at home with a larger file. And it's better to use a file than a grinder, because if you overheat the metal, you can ruin the temper of the steel. So I recommend that you do it with a hand file. So Bird, you can see the subtle difference I've made to that pick. I've increased the angle right at that first tooth by about 3 or 4 degrees, and I've beveled both sides of these teeth here. The increased angle means that when you pull down on that, see how that bites in? As compared to this, which slips out when I weight that. See, it doesn't bite. This will bite. See the difference? That means you don't have to swing that in very hard. And on thin ice, you can get a decent, secure purchase. Also, it means with these teeth beveled on the side, not only does this pick go in well and stay secure, but you can get it out nicely. Most of your holding ability of your pick comes from that first few teeth, and so those are what you want to, you know, those are actually all that you need to have in the ice very securely. To place your tool, you want to look for some slightly more opaque ice. This really shiny stuff and clear stuff, that's pretty brittle. Right in that little depression, see how there's air bubbles in there?
Yeah.
You can see them. Now watch what happens when I place my pick there. It should be a good one, see? Those air bubbles act to stop the lines of fracture from continuing and radiating.
You're looking for areas that have air bubbles in them.
You're looking for two things. You're looking for, first of all, a depression where the fracture lines won't tend to come to the surface.
Okay.
And second of all, you're looking for air bubbles in the ice. And the action of removal is just a quick and firm upward jerk along the smooth curved surface on the upper part, which disengages the teeth and allows the thing to slide up and out. And that allows you to move above the tool. Oh, okay, I'm above the tool and I want to remove it. We're going up and out and ready to go. Oops. You want to align the pick, the shaft, the wrist, the arm, the elbow, the shoulder, all in one plane. So it's not like this, it's not like that. You want to get the power straight the way through, all the way through the system. If you go like this, it's really wimpy swings. So that's why when you're climbing steep ice, you want to be way out so you can line up and place it, you know? Even when I reach off to the side, I'm aligning all those parts of the system. Try it.
Skating this way.
One of the things I'm doing is gripping my shaft a little differently than you. You're gripping it like this. Turn your hand just so the wrist is vertically in alignment with the shaft. The little finger is just above the spike. And you can just flick the wrist. Everything's in alignment then. If your hand is twisted over here, you're not actually in alignment. The wrist is out of alignment. The pick's designed to actually work best only when the spike is relatively close to the ice when the pick penetrates it. If the shaft is out here, what happens? It bounces off and wants to skate down. So even if you're reaching to the side, you can't reach like that. You have to reach like this. Okay, Bird.
Yes.
Normally when you're rounding a bulge, kind of traversing, you like a pillar like this, you can still reach kind of diagonally over and just place your tools that way. Here's an old placement, but like that. But sometimes if it's really a sharp corner, you do have to come around and put your hand out of alignment. But then you've still got to get all the power and force you can into your wrist hook. And let's see. And this is a technique that takes some real practice to get that swing down, so it's practical. When you're traversing, you have a choice of either reaching diagonally or this way. I will reach diagonally whenever possible. There's sometimes when you have to reach like this, but right here we can reach diagonally and make the next placement. Okay, I have a choice to make with my tools. Do I want to place this tool right next to this one here and then go over, or do I want to get a little extra reach, just reach over like this and go like that, cross over? That's what I would choose to do right there. Move my feet over, cross through, place my pick again, cross my feet through, keep your foot perpendicular to the ice in both directions. Don't reach over like that. Perpendicular 90 degrees to the ice. Keep your heel low, cross over. Same thing there. Now I can do this again. I'll come back your direction and show you how many more moves and how much more awkward it is if I go like this. One there, one here. It's okay. It's just not nearly as elegant or fast or smooth. Sometimes crossing behind works, but In that case, crossing through would work better. Or here going back, crossing through would work better, while down here crossing behind would work better. If I kick my front point in, drop my heel, I get that tripod of stability again. See?
Yes.
With those secondary front points, creating the tripod right there. Same thing, if I drop my heel, creates a very stable placement. With a mono point, you can do something you can't do with dual front points, and that's called a high step and a pivot on the mono point. You can reach up like that, get it in, and this will make sense on some icicles and pillars where you really have limited choice as to where you can place your foot. But once you get it in, you can stand up and rotate on that without prying the points out. And you can do that high step as you need.
Aha.
Like that.
That's great.
You can't do that with dual front points. Now we're using double ropes because it's getting steep enough on this grade 3 stuff, about 75 degrees, where, you know, the extra protection of the double ropes, if you happen to cut one, is worthwhile, especially for the second, you know, who's got the ropes going above them and is swinging their tools above.
Mm-hmm.
It's important that the double rope technique has a lot of benefits. So this is just a short little stretch of about 75 to 80 degrees, and first taste of a little steeper climbing. I'm going to go ahead and use 2 tools. This is really nice for your first steeper bit of ice because the ice is so soft and easy to use, you know. So you'll just a little swing like that, and your pick will penetrate really well.
Climbing waterfall ice of this angle with 2 hand tools can be very secure and relatively effortless, or very strenuous and difficult. If you balance over your crampons, keeping your body away from the ice, relaxing with 1 foot sideways on natural ledges or slopes whenever possible, planting your hand tools with just a flick of your wrists, maneuvering your body to take the greatest advantage of stemming opportunities or to avoid steeper bulges, then this type of climbing can be almost as easy as climbing a ladder.
At the top of the bulge, always mantle up on the head of my tool to get my feet over the bulge.
Okay.
Okay, I'll just stop here. We'll make a short little pitch so I can watch it from here.
Okay. Climbing.
Climb.
Were you actually placing your tools down here?
No, I just sort of,
Climbed?
yeah.
Okay.
They were in my hands, but I wasn't really using them.
Okay.
Now let your wrists swing a little bit. Yeah. Pick that spot.
Huh.
You're going to have to swing it a little harder on this. Give it a real swing, Bird. Yeah, there, that's
Oh, that's better.
more like that.
Yeah.
More like that. More of a swing, yeah. There you go. Get a little bit mean with it.
Bird made the common beginning mistake of trying to push her axes into the ice rather than letting the weight of the head develop significant force through a precise flick of the wrist. But soon her swings improved and she was getting good sticks most of the time.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good swing.
It's a little wet over here.
Yeah. Let it develop some momentum, Bird. Just find a place to put them and kick them in and stand. You don't need to, they won't get any more secure by repeatedly kicking them.
Okay.
Just kick them in once, Bird. It's okay. Okay. Take a good wind up. Yeah, that's nice, Bird. More of a wind up. There you go. See, if you let that head of your axe, your tool drop down, drop back behind your shoulder, you can get much more of a swing, and then let your wrist speed it along its way.
Sounded okay.
Now with your crampons on this stuff, there's almost pre-cut holds from earlier parties, so just stand on
Oh,
them.
that was nice.
Yeah, that was
That
very
sounded
nice.
better.
Yeah, so just kind of reach up, give them a little kick, but mainly just stand on them. Yeah, see, that's all you need to do.
Okay.
Excellent. Really good job. Ah, very nice.
Okay, something about mantling.
Yeah, just leave the picks there now and just mantle up to them until you're up onto this lower angle part, and then just stand up. Good job, Bird.
All right.
Now we just need to work a little more on that swing and also on your confidence in the crampons. You know, all you need to do is just kind of place them and stand on them, and they'll hold. You don't need to kick them in again and again. But that was excellent. Good job. Fun?
Fun, yeah.
All right.
As I relax.
Yeah, right. Now you know we should down. Yeah.
Okay.
So just as on the lower angle stuff, if you plant your tool off to the side a little bit, diagonally, you'll be able to get a much better swing, and then you sort of lie back a little down below, alternately lie back, one side and then the other.
Okay.
On your way down, you really have to get your butt away from the ice and lean way out on your tools. That's why you need good sticks. And if you place them diagonally off to the side, you'll get the best sticks. You'll have more room to swing. So you'll find that if you go down too far, if you step down too far, it's hard to get your tools unhooked.
Yeah, I just noticed that one.
So you'll want to stop before you get fully extended on your arms. Good job, Bird. Usually if you kind of go back side to side like that, you get better swings, and you can climb down very securely. And the steeper the ice, the more it helps to do that, because on real steep ice it's very hard to get a secure enough swing right in front of your face. But off to the side here, you can really wind up and do it, you know? So, see how far I get out from the ice?
Definitely so. I see how you're really swinging that axe too.
Yeah. I don't, you know, if you're not away from the ice, you can't really
See.
get your points in.
Uh-huh.
So,
Yeah.
well, that was a pretty good first day.
Yeah.
I think.
I can really tell a difference when I relax versus when I get a little at fear and tense
Right.
up, how much more my crampons are biting and how much I think the tools swing a little easier. And
Yeah. Yeah, just that confidence is really a large part of ice climbing.
yeah.
But I thought you did excellently in everything. I think you're going to do really well. As we do this tool placement practice, we're going to climb this little grade 4 pitch on the right here, up the little curtain there and onto the right skyline.
Wow.
Watch how I choose my placements. Ah, that's, I could belay off that. And in fact, a lot of the way I climb good thick ice is as if my tools are my belay. They're portable belays, and the screws and protection are just kind of peripheral to that. Okay, I've got a screw-in bird. I'll go on up to the belay now.
All right.
Just stay out left on this nice pillar to practice this technique. Okay, you're on.
Okay, climbing.
Climb.
Many waterfall climbs are festooned with features that can be slung with webbing to provide natural runners for lead protection or belays. Look for these opportunities. Small solid pillars, tunnels in the ice, slots between pillars that can take a large nut or a screw slotted as a T-anchor, mushrooms or cauliflowers, and so on.
The ice is excellent, isn't it, Bird?
Pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's very nice and
They're pretty good.
soft. It's a good beginning.
Well, a little awkward here. Okay, I'm about to fall.
Do those tools feel better for you without the head weights?
Yeah,
Good.
except I'm not very relaxed at the moment.
Well, that's okay. Remember, don't push your pick in. If you're going to swing it, go ahead and swing it, you know? Give it, yeah. There, that's
There we
much
go.
better, Bird.
Yeah.
That was very good. Just a little flick of the wrist like that.
On near vertical terrain, any deficiencies in the technique of planning your tools will be emphasized. The only way to get a good swing is to lean your upper body back off a good pick placement. But if your placement is not very good, you'll be uncomfortable leaning back off it, and your next placement will most likely be marginal as well.
I'm having a little
Not sideways, Bird. In and out. Pull out on the shaft hard. Pull.
Yeah. Man, oh man. Ah,
Okay, from that point, you just unscrew that screw, just turn it counterclockwise and it'll come right out after you unclip. Yeah, place your tool solidly. There you go, yeah.
and take your wrist out of loop.
This is why I don't like to tighten those things on my wrist loops too much.
Counterclockwise.
Yeah,
I see.
yeah, but it's easier if you just take that
Quick draw.
quick draw right off.
That was in pretty far.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's a good screw. That would hold 4,000 pounds.
Oh, good thing I had that tiramisu last night.
Uh-huh. Probably not 4,000 pounds worth.
Yep.
By the time she removed the screw and started on the upper pillar, Bird relaxed a bit and became more effectual in her technique.
This pillar hasn't had quite so many previous climbers on it, so it's
Uh-huh.
there's a few less hooks. So this little stretch right here is ice of about 85 degrees. Good accuracy, Bird. Very accurate climbing. That's good. I like that.
Good. Pretty good. Okay, you wanted me to step high here.
Yeah, just walk your feet up high before
Whoa.
making your next tool placement there. Not too high, I mean not... Okay.
That good or not really? That's better.
Okay.
Okay.
Excellent. Very well done. Very well done. I just wanted to give you a taste of the range of ice climbing here. Let's go pack up and get to Ouray.
I agree.
Bird will cut a ballard for descending so we don't have to leave any screws, okay?
Okay.
So with a ballard you want to start by envisioning kind of a teardrop shaped mushroom in the ice here, and I'm going to use this little bulge here as the basis for my ballard, and I'm going to make it about 18 inches in diameter, and I'm going to start by making an outline of that, and with just a kind of a circular motion of the adze there. Now one thing I want to point out here is this first cut I made. It's called a stop cut, and that is the inside boundary of your ballard, and if you always from there on out cut away farther and farther, and never hit right in there, you won't pop the top of the ballard off. Okay? Just get the basic shape. I'm going to make it about probably 4 to 6 inches high. Deep, I should say. See, I'm still cutting away from there. Eventually I'm going to trim this up a little and go deeper, but I'm getting the basic thing cut. Just want to be careful when you're working any place on the bollard where you could undermine it. See, now I'm going to bring it together a little like the rope will, slightly like this. So it's kind of a horseshoe shape. affair. Okay, now I'm going to start deepening it. And eventually I'll use the pick. And you know those tube picks we've got?
Yeah.
Those work incredibly well for making bollards. Now I'm going to start working with the pick and start making a groove for the rope. Taking care never to damage the integrity of this bollard, of this section. Yeah. I'm going to eventually end up with a nice groove for the rope to just kind of snap into, and a good lip at the top and around the sides. I'm going to make a good positive lip up there.
The curve of that pick is just designed just for that.
Well, it works.
Yeah, it does.
But the tube picks work incredibly well for this. Or half tube. The mistake people make sometimes is not making this lip good enough, positive enough, you know?
Yes.
Just cutting this down so the rope pulls more down here rather than out. Okay,
Okay.
that'll work.
Looks good.
So, what I'm going to do is let you just wrap off first, off the screws, and then I'll set myself up on the bollard and
Okay.
rappel.
That would make me feel.
Okay. Next time you'll get to do it, okay?
All right.
Okay, see you down there, bird.
Okay.
Once Bird was off the rope, I set myself up to rappel from the bollard. Then removed the last screw. It would have been safer and better if I had placed an axe below the bollard and clipped into it as a temporary belay before unclipping from the screw. But in any case, I took care at the beginning of the rappel to avoid any upward or outward pull on the rope which would tend to dislodge it. I accomplished a safe rappel by laying flat on my belly,